This is the Cinepeer Weebill 3E gimbal by June, and it's a smaller, more compact gimbal than the standard versions that we're more used to. Just like cameras have been getting smaller, gimbals are also getting smaller while also being able to hold a very decent payload. So I played around with the Weebill for around 3 weeks on 3 different projects, and this is not really going to be a tutorial on how to use a gimbal or a deep dive on all of its features. I really just want to get into how practical this gimbal is in real world shooting situations. They did send me this gimbal to review, but of course you will always get my honest opinion. So a little context about me: I shoot music videos, film, and a ton of dance videos. And I've been using gimbals since way back when the Ronin RS came out, which seems like a lifetime ago. But now I own the Ronin RS2. It's a more standard size gimbal, and when I pair it with the Sony FX3 and a 24-70, I have an incredible setup that can get me through most scenarios. A gimbal isn't always the right choice for 100% of the shots that you're getting. I do think it is an essential piece to your kit, and I have definitely found a ton of fun and creative ways to use a gimbal on set. So that's a little context about me and my perspective when approaching this gimbal. I definitely have been seeing more compact gimbals hit the market, and I've never used a smaller one before, so this is my first experience using a small gimbal. So after using the gimbal for about 3 weeks, here are my thoughts. So put it very simply, this gimbal works exactly as any content creator would want it to work. After using it on different projects, I never felt held back in any way when trying to get certain shots that I'm used to getting on my RS2. It has all the shooting modes that you're gonna want, including 360, portrait mode, and of course the ability to fine tune your motors and get that feeling that you want out of your gimbal. After knowing how to balance the gimbal, it's very simple to just set this thing up and get shooting. The gimbal comes in 3 main components, which is the stand, the gimbal itself, and then the plate that you use to attach to your camera. And then it also comes with cables to charge it via USB-C. So as someone who comes from DJI, I am not really a fan of the menu system. DJI has touchscreen, and you have actual icons that show you what kind of shooting mode you're gonna get out of that mode. But the Weebill has a scroll wheel, and the settings are just gonna come in acronyms or single letters. So if you've never used a gimbal before and you're not very familiar with different shooting modes, you're probably just gonna have to read up a little bit on what those modes mean so you know what they're actually doing. This gimbal does allow you to shoot vertically. I personally don't shoot vertically a lot, but I think anybody that is making a lot of short form content is gonna find this very useful. You do have to take the plate off and readjust your camera and place it in a vertical shooting mode and then rebalance the gimbal. So just keep that in mind when approaching your next shoot. But hands down, my absolute favorite thing about using this gimbal was its Bluetooth feature. Via Bluetooth, you can control your camera and use the record button on the gimbal itself to start and stop recording and also focus your shot. Being able to control your camera hasn't necessarily been new to gimbals, but you used to always have to use cables. My RS2 has that feature and I have the cables, but I've honestly never been bothered to use it, and I've just been pressing record the old-fashioned way. But being able to just stop and start recording has just been a dream and so easy. That's my favorite feature for sure. So right away when I started using this gimbal, I definitely felt how easy and lightweight it really was. It's definitely noticeably lighter than my RS2, but not by like a major amount where I feel like I would have to swap, if you know what I mean. My FX3 is already a very small and lightweight camera, so with either setup, I'm not really getting fatigued. But for any mirrorless user or even an APS-C user, I don't see why you wouldn't just start with a smaller gimbal if you're shopping for your first. So everything comes down to just 2 things for me. One is portability. The smaller anything in your kit is, the easier it's going to be to travel around with it. And that makes shooting easier, and that makes being a creative easier. I chose the FX3 because it was a small but very powerful camera that didn't annoy me to want to pack and bring around. This gimbal is a great size to fit in almost any camera bag, whether it's inside the bag itself or in the side pocket. But we've been able to tuck in our standard size gimbals into our bags for a long time now, so it's not like it's really anything new, but the size difference can really go a long way for people. 2 is mounting external accessories. So when I'm using my RS2, I'm pretty much always using an external monitor. For more high pressure situations, it's extremely important for me to be able to see the shot in a larger screen. With my set of monitors, I'm also able to cast the image so my client or my director is able to see the shot in real time. With the Weebill, you don't have that option to mount anything externally. And I know it's probably not made for that, but from my perspective, that is a big thing for me that I usually want to have. In conclusion, I do think this is a really good gimbal. I think it'll be a great option for anybody who's purchasing their very first gimbal. Bluetooth control is just gonna be a dream for anybody using it, and most cameras will be able to connect to it. The price is competitive against its main contender, which would be DJI RS3 Mini, but I've actually never used that gimbal, so I can't really say if it's better or not. But using this gimbal, it is extremely functional. It's gonna get the job done for you, and when gear gets smaller for us, it's gonna help us be more creative, more flexible, and keep us in the zone.